Hello everyone and welcome back to Liquid Evil Gaming. So welcome to my short and sweet review of the WASD Code Keyboard by WASD Keyboards. If you're unfamiliar with what the box looks like and what comes with the product itself, I put the link in the video description down to the unboxing that I did of this product about a week or so ago. So, some subtext. I was looking for a Cherry MX Clear 10 keyless keyboard to complement my Poker 3. As I do like having a 60% and a 10 keyless at this point. Certain things are just better for each. So I started looking around and compared several brands, looked at Keyed Up Labs, looked at WASD, kind of went right down and to see, who had Cherry MX Clear to begin with in a 10 keyless, which was only so many brands, especially ones that were actually in stock. So I've stumbled across my main two considerations were the Keyed Up Labs 87ES, and then this particular keyboard by WASD. Now, what led me to decide on this one was the backlighting is definitely a nice bonus feature. It's not something I use a ton, but when I do need it, it is nice to have it there. Also, it had the Cherry MX Clear switches, as I mentioned, the detachable cable. WASD has a great reputation, so there was that. The build quality is pretty good. I wanted to love this keyboard, but I have to say instead I really like it. What do I mean by that exactly? Well, this keyboard has a good amount of pros and a good amount of cons. So let's go over the positives first. The positives of the keyboard, the build quality, as I mentioned, is pretty darn good. It has the Cherry MX switches that I was looking for. It is backlit with white LEDs, so nothing overly flashy or annoying, just lights there when you need it. And it actually has 7 different brightness levels, so you can adjust it to your personal liking. I usually leave it at about a 3, so you can adjust it quite a bit. It has dip switches and a cable routing system on the back of the keyboard here. You get your dip switches and you've got your cable routing system to exceptionally sturdy feet, which aren't going anywhere. You've got 2 rubber feet on each side of the front here, which keep this keyboard from sliding around, which is always appreciated because some of those keyboards, especially the DOS keyboards, just slide all over the damn place and it's annoying. The connector on this was a different kind of micro USB than what I was used to. This is what you usually see on Android phones. I was a little disappointed because all my custom cables were for a different micro USB. It feels nice to type on. The switches are all very uniform. The warranty is 2 years, which is definitely very nice. The price was right around $155 US as of the time of this recording. Any experiences I had emailing WASD, asking them questions about the board, or things that I might bring up in the future, or questions about warranty or what they cover, what they don't, etc. They got back to me very quickly and they were pleasant in their responses. So any dealings I had with them were professional, they were quick and pleasant, so that was very nice to see. It came with a wire keycap puller, as you saw in the unboxing, which is always nice because these are awesome. The plastic keycap pullers should just burn in hell, they suck. And it came with a USB Ps2 adapter, which I like because Ps2 is just the superior connection interface for keyboards. It's got, your volume up and down keys. You can do Colmac and Dvorak modes if you adjust the dip switches in the back. And it had some other media keys, but I changed out the keycaps. I'll get to more of that in a second. So what don't I like about this keyboard? And I am going to be a bit more picky with this one than I am with most because of the price point. If this was a $60 or $70 mechanical board, I wouldn't be quite as picky. But because it's $155, I expect a much higher level of quality, and there are a few areas that I feel WASD needs to improve in the future if they do a second version of the code. First of all, and let me say before anybody comments, by the way, the uneven backlighting on some of the keys, that is because of the keycaps I put on there. These are extra thick Vortex PBT backlit caps, so that has nothing to do with the board. The stock caps all showed everything perfectly, but that was one of the cons actually, is they are ABS, and they're kind of a oily ABS feeling. I really didn't like the stock keycaps at all. They looked nice, but in functionality, I really didn't like typing on them very much, so I replaced those almost immediately. Some of the other cons, and this is one that I'm sure if you are a frequenter of mechanical keyboard forums or the subreddit, that a lot of people have said this board has an excessive amount of ping. What is ping? Well, when you type on the keys and you get this slightly metallic, kind of metallic feedback as you type, it is there. It definitely exists. It's a little stronger than some of the other boards I've had. Compared to my Poker 3, the Poker 3 does have a little bit of its own metallic ping, but it's pretty minimal. This is probably about double that. Is it a deal breaker? No. Is it annoying if you're anally retentive about sounds? Yes, you will notice it if you're very, very anally retentive about sound. I'm going to try and pick it up on the mic for you. Let's see here. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it or not, but let's go ahead and give it a shot. Now, I don't know if you were able to pick that up on the mic or not. Sorry, but I'm not using my best mic for this video. But it is there. You can hear it. It's not terribly loud. I mean, if I play a game or watch a movie at normal volume, I honestly don't notice it at that point. But if you're doing a lot of just documentation typing and things like that, it may get to you after a while, so do bear that in mind. One of a couple of the other things I don't like about the keyboard, the build quality is fairly solid, but the keyboard does have a little bit too much flex, I find. Considering the price, it's not bad by any means, but it is there, it is noticeable. The cable routing system is really kind of blah. The cord that came with the keyboard was thicker, rubberized, which, by the way, again, please include a braided cord. I'm so tired of the rubberized cords. But either way, it kept slipping out of the routing system, no matter what I did. Now, I don't know if that's because the routing system channels are too thick or the cable's too thin that was included, but it kept popping out all the time, and it was very, very annoying. I switched to a braided cord, and that seems to stay in a little better, so it's been less of an issue since I did that. But it is an annoyance nonetheless, and one that clearly was a little bit overlooked, as I don't really like it moving around here. So that's a bit of an annoyance. Other annoyances with the keyboard. This one is kind of a personal opinion, and everybody's kind of split on this usually that likes mechanical keyboards. But this keyboard has co-star stabilizers instead of Cherry MX. Some people say they feel more uniform to the other keys, which is in fact truth. I really can't tell that difference. But they're much, much harder to change the keycaps on. So it is kind of a frustration when you feel like changing out the keycaps. So I personally would have rathered see Cherry MX stabilizers myself. Another complaint directly relating to those stabilizers, and this was a little bit of a shock, and granted, WASD did help me out with this, but the keys that use co-star stabilizers, which is usually like your shift keys, your spacebar, your elongated keys, they were kind of squeaky and a little loud when I got the keyboard. And I looked around Google to see if anybody else had this experience, and it turns out a few people did. So I emailed WSD about it, and I asked them, I'm like, do you guys not lubricate these co-star stabilizers at all? And shockingly enough, they do not. They do not lubricate the co-star stabilizers at the production level, which I think is kind of ludicrous, especially at this price point. So they offered to send me a tube of super lube and let me do it myself, and they were going to send me the lube for free. But A, it's not the point. This should have been done at production level. To not have that done at production level is just inexcusable in my mind. Call it me being picky, but $155 US, there's really no reason to not have done this. Their excuse was that their current production line is not set up for that. Well, you probably should have thought about that to begin with, to be quite honest with you, WASD. There's just really no excuse for that. Now, I turned down their offer of the free lube only because I had a tube of Krytox still, so I did it myself, and that did fix the problem. But it still was an annoyance I really didn't want to have to deal with, especially if I wasn't planning on changing out the keycaps. I wouldn't want to have to deal with that just getting the board out of the box, to have to go ahead and remove the stabilizers and lubricate them all. I mean, I'm not paying to work on the board that should work perfectly when I get it out of the box. So that was kind of an annoyance right there too. So my overall thoughts of the board. I do like the board. I will be keeping it. I like the backlighting feature, the combination of that and the Cherry MX clears. It is fairly well built, and from the support I've got from WASD, I feel as though if any issues arise, they'll honor the warranty and deal with any issues that arise throughout the 2 years that the warranty is for. So for that reason, I will be keeping the board, but I really hope that if per some chance they watch this video, they look at some of these things I've mentioned, and in the future, hopefully work on some of these things, because this board really could have been the perfect 10 keyless Cherry MX Clear board. It really could have, but instead it doesn't quite hit the home run, but we'll say it gets a ground double. If I were to rate it out of 10, I'd give it somewhere between a 7.5 and an 8, keeping the price paid in mind. If this was a cheaper board, I'd be a little bit more forgiving. But due to the fact that it's not, I would have to say right about a 7.5 to 8. It's a good effort. I feel as though it's a very nice board. I would recommend it if you can get past the caveats I mentioned earlier in the video, as long as you're willing to shell out the very high price tag to get the backlighting, which is one of the biggest features this offers over its closest competitor, Keyed Up Labs 87ES. So with that in mind, whether this board for you is going to vary person to person. If you can deal with the caveats I mentioned to get the backlighting this offers that the Keyed Up Labs competition does not, then go ahead, go for it. If you can't, then I would probably look at the Keyed Up Labs board instead, as it's a little cheaper, but it just doesn't offer the backlighting, but it has slightly better build quality. So that has been my fastest possible review. Fast has turned into 12 plus minutes now of the WASD code with Cherry MX Clear switches. If you have any further questions about the board, my experiences with the board, let me know in the comments and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Have a good one, everybody.